Hello, and welcome back to the Building HVAC Science Podcast. It's our goal here at Building HVAC Science to help create better and more knowledgeable HVAC and building performance technicians by helping the two professions better understand each other, with the ultimate goal of making customers happy in the homes they live in and buildings they work in. This episode is all about operating a business, and Bill is missing, so Eric visits one-on-one with Tommy Mello, who is the founder of A1 Garage Door, creator of the Home Service Expert, host of the Home Service Expert podcast, author, and a columnist for Inc. magazine. During our discussion, Tommy shares lessons, speed bumps, and some things he learned about business along the way. While Tommy is not directly in HVAC or building performance, he operates a very successful service business, and there are many lessons that can be learned from that. Hope you enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Building HVAC Science Podcast. I'm Eric Kaiser, and Bill Spohn is not on this episode. He had a last-minute emergency and was not able to join us. But joining me today is our special guest, Tommy Mello, with A1 Garage and a whole bunch of other stuff, yeah?
Some would say A1 is the baby. It's a couple decades old. It is how I grew my podcast. It's how I wrote my books. It's my life. It's my baby.
Nice. And you're still obviously very actively working in that business then, along with all the other things that you do.
Yeah, the business, and I say this as humbly as possible. I started out with nothing. My parents didn't give me any money. I literally went into debt. My credit card was shot. But, you know, the business will do north of $260 million this year. And most prideful about a lot of homeowners, a lot of people going on vacations and living their dream life. They get PTO, they get brand new trucks, they get 2 months of training and continued training, they get brand new tools, and they get to accomplish their dreams. And a lot of people talk about revenue. They get in a room, they put out their chests, and they talk about revenue. I found that revenue is for vanity, profit is for sanity. We focus on making sure we're above 25% to the bottom line. And we could do that by doing great things. I think a lot of people say, what do you charge? Why do you charge that? We give clients our options. People say only sell what people need. Yeah, and you go back every 18 months and then they miss another day of work or they're uncomfortable because their home doesn't have a good air conditioner and it's not doing the best thing for the client. So we give them options, not ultimatums. And we charge the right price that we chose, not what the marketplace chose. And I've done this in 20 states, 40 markets, anywhere in the United States. Doesn't matter if it's Biden or Trump. It doesn't matter what's going on in Ukraine. It doesn't matter what inflation's doing. Everything is an excuse. And I've said these excuses in the past. And we're able to get the price that we need to stay profitable because we're not a 501(c)(3). We're in business for a profit. People move up in the company. And there's communities that are doing better because of what the work A1 is doing.
Very nice. So let's talk about you. I want to get to know you a little bit. Where did you start out? How did you even come into the garage door business? You said your parents didn't give you anything, so clearly they didn't hand you a business or drop you into that. And what made you decide to go into the garage door business? And then from that into more home services and writing books and things?
I'm from Detroit, a suburb called Sterling Heights. Mom and dad got a divorce when I was 7. Mom said, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Keep you guys in the same home and the same schools. So she worked 3 jobs. And at that point, the only way I could pitch in being a kid was mow lawns and shovel snow. And then I turned 12 and got a job washing dishes for $4.05. So hard work is in my DNA. My grandparents were hard workers. My parents are hard workers. But that's about the limit. They were hard workers. And when they took off and when they went to bed, they stopped making money. And I was caught in that trap for a long time. And so I had an opportunity. I mean, it's funny, I was flipping Bowflexes. I was buying them in Craigslist and selling them in the Arizona Republic. Started a landscaping company, bussing tables, serving tables, bartending. Ended up going back to school to get a master's degree. But I had an opportunity to paint garage doors for a buddy of mine that was a roommate. And he said, I'll get you $100 a door. I'm managing a garage door company. He said, you could probably paint 3 doors a day. I got to the point where I was painting 10 a day. And I meet with all these garage door guys because they were handing me the chips. They cut out a chip of the sample of the door so I could match the paint. And this is 2005. And those of you that don't know, Phoenix was taking off. But also in 2008, right when I started the business, Phoenix was going down. So I had to build a business in a recession.
A lot of things were going down in 2008.
It was bad. And I had to learn to figure things out in a bad economy. People were giving their house back to the bank. They were in over their heads. A lot of single mothers that I remember. 2010, I separated with my partner. I said, you could take on the debt or I'll take on the debt. And we owed money to Valpak and, believe it or not, Yellow Pages. And I convinced my mom and stepdad to move from Michigan to Phoenix. And my mom answered phones. My stepdad did all the stuff I hated. He handled payroll. He dealt with making sure all of us, we were up to code. Our licensing was good. And I'm probably the largest failure of most business owners you've met. If it could happen, Murphy's Law slapped me around the face over and over and over. We've had trucks flip, lots of trucks flip over. One of them, a guy flicked a cigarette out, truck caught on fire. People stealing, had to close markets down, 4 markets, big markets that we were non-profitable in. You name it, it happened to me. So this isn't a story of overnight success. This is a story of not quitting and learning how to focus with ADHD and really hyper-focusing on one thing. And as it blossomed, yes, now I was able to start a podcast. Very proud of the Home Service Expert podcast. Now I was able to write books and speak on more stages, because what I realized is as I grow my brand and A1 grows their brand, we work together to form a super brand. So a lot of the people are here. We got 40 technicians training this month. The classes range from 35 to 50 new technicians per month. And a lot of it is because the Tommy Mello brand, and the Tommy Mello brand exists because of the A1 brand. So together they're more powerful.
Very nice. That's a pretty long and sounds like there was a lot of pain story in there. Failure. You just learn from the failures. You go forward, figure out what to do different from a failure point.
I run very fast at failure. I make a lot of mistakes, but I've learned over the last few years who to call when in my Rolodex to get the advice to dodge those bullets. But I didn't make a lot of the same mistakes twice. And thank God I made them at a smaller size without borrowed money or an SBA loan or a delayed draw term loan or whatever happened. It was just sweat equity I was putting in. And so I got to make a lot of the mistakes the first decade without really playing with a lot of money. If I made the same mistakes I made in year 3 or 4 or 5, you'd be talking about millions of dollars. As simple as hiring the wrong people, as simple as not having manuals, standard operating procedures, checklists, the right technology. I got my brand redone in 2018. We were already at 40 million. And one of my consultants, Al Levy, the 7-power contractor who helped me with manuals and SOPs, my number one mentor in the world, took a picture of my van, black and white, and said, dude, I don't think you got the right brand. He goes, it doesn't pop out at me. He goes, you got to talk to Dan Antonelli. He wrote a book called Branded, Not Blanded. And he charged me back then, it was like 30 grand. It was expensive for me. And I said, I don't know if this is worth it. I ended up doing it. And when the brand was right, and I matched my billboards with my stickers, with my Valpak, and I put the signage out, all of a sudden my prices, everybody just said yes. They're like, you're the best brand. Like, we trust you. They just knew A1. And what's crazy about it, though, is all of a sudden the right people started applying. And they're like, I see you guys everywhere. Being young and naive and thinking you got a big brand at $40 million, you're like, everyone knows who A1 is. Well, even today, if you walked out on the street and you went to a shopping mart or a Costco or a home show, most people wouldn't be like, oh, yeah, A1. I mean, some people are like, yeah, I think I might have heard of you, maybe. But I don't give myself that much credit. It's not like Google or Yelp. It's not like A1's right up there. I think sometimes we think everybody knows us, but we live in a bubble. So I think brand is very, very important. And I think if you lose an employee and they're making 80 grand, it costs you about $60,000 to lose them. And without the right brand, people are like, I would never pay $20,000 or $30,000. And I'm like, wait a minute. When do you plan on selling her the next of kin with your business? And they're like, yeah, 10 years. So you're playing with a D brand and you're betting the farm, your time, your energy, your sacrifice, your everything on a lousy brand. And it's so hard for people to understand that. Like Procter & Gamble get it. Geico gets it. The largest companies in the world get it. Nike, just do it, gets it. But the smaller home service companies are like, well, I'm already busy for the next 3 months, so I don't know what he's talking about. You better be bringing in millions of profit and paying yourself a couple $100,000 a year. Because I ask most people, how much did you make this year? They say $200,000. How much did the business make? I just told you $200,000. Okay, so you got to understand, pay yourself $200,000 in the business, should still make 20% plus. And what that means is most people are busy being busy versus being profitable. And people are like, I couldn't charge those prices. Then why are you in business? Because apples to apples, I sell oranges. I've got trademark springs. They're called Max Life 80,000 cycle. But we don't sell those on every job. We give an option. We go 10,000, 25,000, or 80,000. They're powder coated red. You can look them up on the trademark. And people are like, well, nobody needs that. Well, I don't need a lot of things. If the plumber comes in and offers me a tankless, I don't need a tankless. I didn't need my water pressure to go up, although I wanted it. So I don't sell things people need. I sell things people want, and I give them options. And there's nothing wrong with that. No one needs a Mercedes. You go buy a used car. Nobody needs to go to a steakhouse. You can go to McDonald's. But the best experiences that I've ever had, Four Seasons, that's an expensive place. You shouldn't charge that for a hotel. How does that give you the right? Eric, how can you charge that for a hotel room when I could go to Motel 8 for $100? How can you charge $2,000 a night? But yet they're sold out. It's hard to get in Four Seasons. So I think anybody that complains about price, literally it's a victim mentality, and it's all over Facebook. It's all with small businesses. It's with people that will never make a profit because their mindset. I know a lot of people will probably hate me for this, and I'm okay. I'm okay being hated on because I speak the truth, that it's okay to make a profit. In fact, you're obligated to your community and the people that work for you to make a profit and be healthy. And your clients want to be able to call you in 3 years when they have a problem. They don't want you to be out of business and bankrupt. So I'm not saying raise your prices unless you're going to raise the bar on your service and experience. And that's very, very important. Not always raise your prices, but you got to make more than you spend or it's a losing battle.
I can't argue with that statement. I actually once, when I was still working in the field and a customer wanted me to cut my price down for him on this. And I said, I mean, if I cut it down to where you want, I'm going to lose money. The company I'm working for is going to lose money. And I might as well stay home and go fishing if I'm going to lose money.
Well, go ahead and tell me that I need you to cut your price. Let's just do some role play.
I can't argue with that. And he understood that when I told the customer, and I knew this customer pretty well. And I just said, hey, I might as well stay home and go fishing if I'm going to work for that price because the company's going to lose money. And that's not how a business works. You can't stay in business and lose money.
Tell me you can't afford that. Just say, Tommy, there's no way I could afford that. I need you to do it for less. Just say that to me.
So I can't afford this, Tommy. We got to get the price down some more. I don't have that kind of money.
Let me ask you, Eric. I completely understand. Trust me, I get it. How am I supposed to do that? Where do you want me to save the money? Do you want me to use less quality parts? Or do you want me to lower the service? Do you want me to put less screws on? Do you want me to because there's two ways to do this. Either less craftsmanship, put the warranty down, make sure that if you have a problem, we can't show up for weeks. Or do you want me to buy cheap parts that are going to fail within a year? Which one would you rather have? Because I do have other options. It's a different quality. And like, we don't need polyurethane. We could go polystyrene. We could even go vinyl back. We could even go hollow back. Or those are garage door terms, but we don't need the 5-ton multi-speed. We could do this. Are you worried about air quality? Because you said your kid has breathing problems. I just wanted to give you what I would do if I was in your shoes. I'll tell you what, Eric. My mom worked 3 jobs when I was a kid. I love my mom more than anything. This is what I would do for my mother. Based on what you've told me.
That's a completely different way of coming at it than just lowering the price. And there's a lot of people out there. And like you said, a lot of people do things differently. We all do things our own ways, but there's definitely something to be said for making enough money to stay in business. And you got to be profitable to run a business.
And what I mean by profitability is I'm not like, trust me, I don't have a vacuum hose to this business sucking out all the profit living large. I got to put it into forward development and make sure we're providing jobs and getting the best tools, the best parts, the best clients, and forwarding the business. There's certain owners that I know that literally suck out all the profit and they live this great life and they hold I had 40 or 50 garage door companies here years ago. And I asked them what they would charge for a door and a motor, a particular door and motor that everyone knew. And I said, who here is charging $7,500, 5X what it costs? And one guy goes, how could you sleep at night? And I go, let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys are making sure each and every person that works for you are making six figures? They get PTO, they get a 401k. You could afford to give them a brand new van and the best technology and make sure they're continued training with great leadership, with one-on-ones and great coaching throughout the day. How many of you guys have that? Any hands? No hands? So let me ask you, how do you sleep at night knowing you're paying a guy $55,000? He's not able to raise their or her or his family. They're staying in an apartment. They're driving an old car. You're literally saying, I'm giving my client a good deal so I could hold down my staff and make sure they never make it, so all their dreams are crushed. So you're saying you're never going to pay the right wages to live in your community so you could give your customers a great deal. How do you sleep at night? Every single person in that room shook my head and said, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to offer better service and raise my prices because it's not fair to the people that I care the most about, that you say you care the most about.
I like that. That's a very nice way of looking at it. It's a great comeback. It's a great way to flip that around. So one of the things we were talking a little bit before we started recording here, you talked a little bit about branding already. Let's go into a little bit about the importance of a brand. How important is it to brand yourself and make sure that the customers have and understand your brand and who you are?
Have you ever heard of a Kleenex?
Maybe once or twice in my life, yeah.
You know, that's a brand. It's actually called a tissue paper.
100%.
That's called the absolute best of branding. So people actually, right behind the left ear, and I've learned this from the Wizard of Ads, Roy Williams, we have this thing called total recall when we see something, even though our unconscious brain is 95%. When you recognize certain things that stands out, your brain actually picks it up, even though your conscious brain doesn't. And typically, I know Walmart compared to Trader Joe's. Walmart's going to have better pricing, but I'm going to have better service, more organic food for Trader Joe's. There's a marketplace for both. So first, when you're thinking about your brand, is it affordable HVAC services? Because what does that tell everybody? If you're looking for a discounted service, the cheapest, you branded yourself the cheapest. Rolex said this. Imagine you're at the top of a mountain. You're looking down at the world and you've accomplished something. You've made it. You've made it to the top of Mount Everest. You've achieved success. Rolex. Buy yourself. So they did this whole thing. So it meant I made it. Something great happened. Graduation. I sold a business. I got married. I bought myself a Rolex. They were able to build the brand into a story. There's a great book by Donald Miller called The Story Brand. And so a brand, what I said to Dan Antonelli with Kick Charge is, I want my brand to be that old-fashioned feeling, the person that shows up the same day, that cares, that like it's a person that's wearing a uniform, that you know is background checked, that you know had a drug test, that you know you could trust around your wife and your kids, that you feel like just safe and it's a great experience. And we worked on it. So we did an analysis of all the other garage door companies in the whole Phoenix area when we did this. And we didn't want to look like anybody else. We didn't want any brand. We wanted to make sure we separated ourselves from any other brand. And we wanted it to be simple. We didn't want to put BBB and all the manufacturers we use in springs, rollers, cables, bearings. We just have A1 garage door service. We don't even need a phone number on it because very few people, they're going to look it up on their phone if they want to use us. So we wanted to make sure the brand popped. They're rolling billboards. And the vehicles, I think, should be at the highlight of your website and in all of your marketing. I see like power washing companies, they'll have every single thing they do. And I'm like, you power wash, you clean concrete, you'll clean the aluminum siding, you'll clean the roof, you'll clean the gutters. Like we know everything that they do. They don't need to list it. I learned a lot from Dan, and I think he's by far the best brander for home service companies on the universe. And he's got case studies. If you go to just type in Kick Charge branding, and he's got hundreds of case studies when people have rebranded. 4,000%, not like a couple hundred. And he helps people do is get attribution to understand. All of a sudden, your pay-per-click costs go down. All of a sudden, your conversion rate goes up. When there's 3 different Valpak mailers, people use you more because it's a better-looking brand. And I don't think people really understand that. And a lot of people won't. A lot of people say it's not worth the money. And the people, my buddy, Jason Bueller, he had a different name of his company. They called it Bueller HVAC. And the story is incredible of how much more money, how happier the clients were. how much more people called, and more importantly, how much he was able to recruit A-plus players. I'm a diehard with the brand. Every great company I know has a brand, and the brand is something that lives forever. It's not marketing, it's a brand. What does the brand stand for? What is the mission, the core values, the mission vision? I think that I've invested in a lot of businesses, and the brand is where we start.
That's the first thing the customers see is the brand, and that's what they're going to remember when they come back to you or if they look you again. So very nice. I love that take on branding. Now, something else we talked about, and I guess this blends in with branding, is technology. Now, you mentioned to me earlier, again, in our pre-show talk about here, that you use a lot of technology and you provide your technicians with technology, and you like to prove to the homeowners what you've done after you were there. How do you do that? What technology are we talking about? And what benefit does that bring both to your company and to the homeowners that you're servicing?
Yeah, so we've got our CRM, we've got our payroll system, we've got our accounting software, so Intact, Paylocity, and Service Titan. And a lot of people say Service Titan is too expensive. But I think most people don't realize Service Titan is a Lamborghini, and most people have it stuck in first gear. They're not utilizing what it's capable of doing. Can you imagine leaving your house to go on vacation and not know where you're going, how much fuel's in the tank, not knowing how much money you have, not knowing even what to bring, like luggage-wise? I think most people are running their business. As long as there's money in the account, I'm okay. What is your booking rate? Where are the leads coming from? So I have 7,000 call tracking numbers. It's complete attribution per marketing source, down to every single Valpak zone, down to every single way. So we've got the different search queries. Whatever you type in, there's a separate phone number that pops up. It's programmatic, not static. So I've got perfect attribution. I want to know what my call booking rate is, the average time on call, what my abandonment rate is, what my non-booked calls are per CSR. Because I paid a lot of money to get that call. We get mad when a technician gets a 0, but what about a missed phone call or a non-booked call? And then I got to understand what's my conversion rate when I ring the doorbell or knock on the door. Am I earning that client's business? And if I'm not, why not? Then I got to understand opportunity job average. If certain guys are way above, are they doing things the right way? Or are they taking advantage of grandma? And for that, we need to take 40 pictures at every job we go to. We take all the old pictures. We show why we're replacing the parts. We weigh every door. And we do give options. Instead of you being able to say yes or no, I say, Eric, listen, I'm going to give you a few options and you can pick one you like. How does that sound? And then you smile and you play with the dog and you get to know, because people buy from people they like. I don't need to hire people that are pretend. I hire people that have great personalities, that smile a lot, that are generally happy at the world, that like to listen and put themselves in the client's shoes. Not somebody that's a great technician that just goes out to fix stuff. Because listen, I don't go or want anything or anybody in my house or go to a restaurant just because they cook food. I want to be serviced. I want to be served. I want to feel like I'm the only one. Like I want to pay for that experience. And I want to know that it's got a good warranty. And I want to know that you're safe in my family's home. And then the next thing I look at after average job ticket, opportunity job average or average ticket, is how much does it cost me to generate a lead per marketing source? Now, Service Titan and a lot, Jobber, Service Fusion, House Call Pro, they all do this, but you got to have it set up. And so that's one thing. The next thing is when we don't close a call, maybe we do a door quote. We have a system that we implemented called Chirp, CHIIRP, that follows up with every customer and gets them to book for a follow-up to see what we could do to close that. If we miss a phone call, it follows up with them. If they need to register their warranty, Chirp handles that. If we're not busy on a day in a certain part of the country or a certain part of Phoenix, the Valley, we could send emails and text messages out and fill up the capacity. So that's the unfair advantage. We use Rilla Voice. Rilla Voice records the conversation between me and the customer in 38 states. It's one person consent. We make sure they're following the steps. We make sure their tone is right. They're asking open-ended questions. We're making sure, and it's all AI driven. They're asking for a review. They're giving 5 out of 5 service. They're not talking down to the customer. All that's done in Chirp. We use Power BI to pull in all these analytics. That I could actually pull in age of home. I could pull in how many garage doors they have. I could pull on if I'm HVAC, do they have a second story? What's the square feet? If it's over 2,500 square feet, I know they probably have 2 units. So I could look at all these things that no one else has access to because of Power BI and just statistical analysis. I've got cameras in the trucks that look both ways and hear everything, not to catch my guys doing something wrong, but I've had 3 guys get out of tickets. I've had 3 guys get out of accidents in the last 6 months because we recorded it. It's to protect everybody, and the insurance company loves it. And yes, there are times that you're violating things, and it's a very, very heavy truck filled with heavy, heavy, heavy equipment. I think it's the responsible thing to make sure we're driving safe and stopping at the stop sign and not speeding in an oversized, overweight truck. These tools allow us to have the unfair advantage. Now ServiceTitan offered Dispatch Pro, which means I don't even need a dispatcher. It automatically figures out the right technician to the right job at the right time. And to not be using tools and technology, I'm not trying to replace human beings here. I'm trying to make us way more efficient. And I want to be very clear on that. I'm not looking to just profit, pull everybody out. But if it makes our job more efficient, I get more economies of scale. And eventually you don't stand a chance. So it's like the survival of the fittest. How would you compete against me when the machine learning is actually picking the right person? Because if you don't have a ladder to get to that high roof, I can't send you on that job. I wasted a call. It costs $200 to roll a truck. So what if the system knows, because we have permissions in there that allows you to know that this person has the right tools, the right equipment to even be able to diagnose that job? So that's where I feel like technology, I'm a technology company that happens to do garage doors.
Very nice. I mean, I love the idea of the intelligent dispatching, I'll say, because that's something that's, I think every company out there struggles with, is putting that right person with the right tools on the right job at the right time. And you're right, it's hugely expensive to roll a truck out there. It costs a ton of money, and putting the wrong person on a job. What tools do you give to your technicians then to use? You talked a little bit about giving them good quality tools and new tools. Are you using any technology then? You mentioned weighing the doors, and I'm assuming that's bringing the door down and making sure it's coming down even. But what other types of things does the technician do to that door with technological tools?
We've got a tool, we call it our VERTS team, that if you're stuck on a job or a client has an issue within the first few weeks, we use a technology called HomeX. We could actually diagnose it over the phone. They see us. We could point stuff out like a safety eye, or maybe your manual cord was released, or maybe a GFI blew or a fuse went off. It has nothing to do with anything we've done. It's more efficient for the client. They respect it. It's simple. It takes 1 minute versus waiting and having a window of time to meet and distract your family from what they had to get done that day. The tools we provide, I mean, we went through 10 tape measures to find the same one that I don't think people understand this, but if you're off by an inch on a garage door and it's not quality tools, we've got special nail guns to put on trim. We've got what's called a spring winder. So instead of ruining your shoulders, which mine are pretty shot from winding heavy springs, the sure winder, which is a spring winder, goes on there and you just tighten it with a drill or loosen it with a drill. Save everything. So it's safe. We got the best ladders to make sure they're slip resistant. Make sure you got steel-toed boots for the installers. There's all these things. It's $5,000 worth of tools, because we say if you're not technically the tools to do it efficiently, you're never going to do it. I used to have guys come in with like their grandpa's glue gun and an old hammer and a plug-in drill and say, put me in, coach. And then we realized that's no way. And a lot of the people that start with us don't have a lot of money to spend $5,000 on tools today. I think that stuff's really important. In our trucks, right up front, we have you can plug in any of your tools to charge your batteries. We use all ion brushless impacts and drills. And anytime we come up with a better tool, a better way of doing it, a more efficient way, a way of making sure there's no warranties, we'll invest in that tool. There's never been a time that I'm like, if I can't make your job easier, more efficient, less callbacks, better for the client, then I'm like, I'm not going to spend that money, because I don't look at it as spending money. I look at it as an investment that'll repay itself back very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I love the idea of standardization across companies too, because then if one of your technicians has a problem, you immediately know the tool that he's got or something like that, or that they've got out there, maybe a service manager or a higher level, somebody that they may call for help is automatically going to know what that technician has on the job already and how to help them fix it.
We know every part on the truck. If you were to go to Milwaukee today. You were to go to Detroit, you were to go to New Mexico, you were to go to Vegas, you were to go to Tucson or Orlando or Oklahoma, you could get in that truck and know exactly where everything's at. It's the same exact thing, the same exact price book. So it's called fully integrated, where I could send any technician to any market at any time. You know exactly what to do. And I think a lot of companies miss that piece. They're not fully integrated. And that gives us economies of scale too, because I'll buy a company where the CSR only has 15 opportunities to book phone calls. At our call center, the CSR could book 50 calls in a day. So they can make not only more money, but they're way more efficient, giving us economies of scale, which allows us to have an upper hand on most companies. This is why Walmart or Costco or Home Depot, they're able to buy in bulk and negotiate better. But then again, you get the Ace Hardware where the guy knows everything because he was a plumber or a handyman. So there's pros and cons. Once you get too big, I think a lot of people lose that family touch and that really great customer service. So then keeping those both intact are important.
So you got to look at the company from a holistic perspective then.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned earlier proving what you do for a customer. What do you mean by that? And how do you communicate that to the customer saying, hey, this is what we actually did. This is how you got what we promised we were going to deliver for you.
Yeah. So typically, whether it's we walk up and we do show and tell, your garage door, it should be balanced at any level. Or your springs are worn out. And if you ever wind an old spring past where it's supposed to be wound, like 6, 7, 10 years, 15 years old, that spring's going to break. It might not break today, but it's going to break usually within a couple months. So first we go out and say, your door is very heavy. You could fill the door. Your rollers, we show them the size and their circumference. And most of them are plastic. We put machine pressed, self-lubricating, double Z-bearing, lifetime warranted rollers. We show them how quiet it is. We show them how it's balanced at every section. We put it in a motor. We take off the case. We show them where the RPM sensor, everything's at, the gears that we lubricate when we come and do a tune-up down the road. We show them the manufacturer's warranty and our warranty. We show them where our stickers are. We give them our cell phone numbers. We show them that there's another number right there to book an appointment that cuts them in front of everybody because they're an existing client. We run the door 3 times for the client to make sure they're happy with everything. We go through safety eyes or if GFI blows. We show them how to lubricate if they choose to do it on their own, not to use WD-40 because that's going to ruin things in this case. The right lithium grease that they want to use to lubricate the door. We'll give them a bottle if they want one, or we'll just come and take care of it once a year where we lubricate it, just tighten everything on the door, make sure it's working great. But I think it's important that we demonstrate that we've done the work and we do show and tell. And not to mention all the pictures in the CRM of the before and afters and what we've done, not only on a new door, but that we've actually done the work, because there are companies that say they've done the work, especially in the mechanic world of vehicles, that they actually just didn't do the work they said they were going to do.
Yeah, unfortunately. And that's really taking advantage of someone when you promise something and you don't do what you promised.
I see raise my price. I just brought Bree's grandfather passed away, and Bree is the love of my life. And I bought a replica, same car, because he left it to her uncle. So I got her a 67 Firebird convertible, black on black, same exact car. And I wanted to just get it all up to date. And my dad's a mechanic. But I was like, you know what? My dad's super slammed right now. I'm just going to bring it into a shop of her choice. And first of all, the guy called me up and said, the battery's dead. I need to replace the battery. And he said, by the way, we're $279 an hour. I said, okay, do what you need to do. And then the guy said, hey, listen, if you can't make it by tomorrow, the guy's retiring that diagnosed the car for 6 hours. So I really couldn't go over with you. I said, can you give me an itemized quote? He said, no, we don't do that. I said, well, what's it going to cost to get everything fixed correctly? He goes, you're looking at about 20 grand. Not to mention, this car runs fine. I just wanted to get it looked at. And I said, okay, when can I come see you? He said, well, I'm gone for the next 2 weeks. My dad went there and he said, I bought that battery 3 months ago. Did you guys try to put a charge on it? It charged right up. It's still got a warranty on the battery. So when I say raise your prices, I would have gladly paid whatever it takes to make that car safe for Bree. But the service did not dictate the price. And that's a very, very fine line. Your guy's retiring that did the diagnosis. You're not in town for 2 weeks. You already lied about the battery. You can't give me a list of what you're going to do with labor. Okay, you're not going to earn my business. And I hope you guys learn a valuable lesson from this, is what I told that company. Because I don't do business that way. I don't expect my clients to buy from me that way. And that is such and you can tell it's fresh in my memory because this was this week.
That does not sound like a great experience at all. That turns a lot of people off because they want that information. Well, hey, I have really enjoyed talking to you and learning a little bit more about you and hearing some of the lessons from you. And I hope our listeners get some good lessons out of this. I think some of them should. But tell us a little bit about how people can get a hold of you if they want to learn more. You've got at least one book out there and maybe more. I haven't looked at all of them, to be honest.
I'll tell you guys one more tip, and then I'll get a couple of things on how to find me. I've got a buddy in town who used to work for a company that worked with Yelp. And the dude is like one of the smartest, sharpest brains of all time. And he moved on from that company, did an amazing, amazing work. And I still use that company. He goes, I think I figured out something with Google. He goes, I've only done this with 10 companies. I'd like to do it with A1. And he calls his like software service. And you got to put the domain in. He's just started this out 6 months ago. It's PIN, P-I-N, Parrot. PARROT.com. PIN, PIN, PARROT. And I said, what did you figure out? He said, if we pull the job data out of ServiceTitan and post it onto Google, onto your website, your Google My Business page will outrank everybody. And I said, okay, dude, you're going to outrank me on Google. And I'm already ranked really well. He goes, I'll tell you what, give me 5 accounts. I'll give you the 6th one for free before you do all of your locations. So I said, sure. I paid him the money. I gave him 90 days up front. I said, do your thing. It's worth a try. And my VP of marketing calls me 5 weeks later. He goes, what in the hell did you do? He goes, there's 6 of our Google My Business pages with the reviews and the hours getting 5 times the call volume. I was like, I don't remember. Oh, wait, Pin Parrot, my buddy Callan is doing something with that. He goes, holy shit. He's like, I've never seen anything like, and I'm telling you, he talked about it for weeks. He's a great friend of mine. I had another buddy, Josh, call me, and he's like, I'm spending 22% on marketing. And I said, call my boy Kellen. He just wants to look at a few things. He called me up 2 weeks later. He goes, dude, one of my GMBs was not even getting found. He goes, I'm under 10% now. And this is no, and by the way, it's like nothing. It's like so cheap to do this, what he does. But I just think the technology and the opportunities are everywhere. I've hung out with guys like Ken Goodrich and Ken Haynes from Wrench Group and Keegan Hodges. And I went to Leland Smith over at Service Champions. They opened their door to me. And the reason I say that is because I've always asked for help. I was an HVAC student that applied it to garage doors. And I learned what service agreements were and how to use financing, which we call promotions. And now we got 74,000 service agreements because Leland was kind enough to show me everything. And the reason I say this is because we open up our doors. It's free. We put on clinics and you do a shop tour and we answer all your questions. We show you our training center where we're building 35 to 50 technicians a month that are SEAL Team 6 badasses. So if you wanted to come to that anytime, I'd love for you to be my guest. Anybody that just wants to know what we're doing. It's my way of paying it forward. 0 costs, 0 sales involved, no pitches. You go to Tommy Mello, TOMMYMELLO.com/shop. And just come out and visit. It's really hot in Phoenix in the summer, so you're going to have to wear some sunscreen. If you want to know more about me on TommyMello.com, it's got my Instagram, my Facebook. I put out a lot of stuff. Our podcast proudly is ranking #1 for business in North America, business management on Apple. It's the home service expert. And we've got the Freedom event coming up. And here's the deal. And this is the last thing I want to say, Eric. The Freedom event is all of home services. If you feel like you can't leave your business for a month and it run right, and this isn't some crazy pitch. We've done one of these events in the past. I've got Keith Mercurio coming. He's like the most motivational, best coach in home service and HVAC. I've got Jocko Willick, who's all about discipline and all about just leadership. I've got Steve Sims, who wrote Blue Fishing. I've got Ellen Rohr to learn about finance. Sebastian's going to be talking about AI and how your business needs it, or you're going to get left behind. And I've got my buddy Ryan Fenn with Chirp that talk about automation. And there's a lot of other panels and things going on, but it's about What do they say when you're in a plane? They say, take care of yourself first, put the oxygen on you. So I'll tell you guys what, it's September 25th through the 27th in San Diego. And if you don't get value and you don't think this is the best event you've ever been to, and it doesn't change your life, your family's life, and your business, I lose money on this event, but I'll give you your money back. You have my word. I promise you that if you don't get the answers and you don't see your business systematically grow dramatically after this, all I'm trying to do is cover the space and make sure I give the speakers good money and take care of people. This is not a money grab. I promise you, I make my money from A1 Garage Door Service and we're doing great. I think if we could share, Zig Ziglar once said, if you could have anything you want in life if you help enough people get what they want. I got baptized 2 weeks ago and it has nothing to do with my faith, but I'm trying to do the right thing. And I don't always do. And I'm a work in progress. But I think coming and visiting this shop or coming to the Freedom event would really, really, really impact your life in a positive way. And Eric, I really did enjoy this. I love that you gave me a chance to share some of the stuff we're working on. It's been an honor to be on your podcast. And I hope that there's a lot more people that listen to this and really, really, truly appreciate it.
Tommy, we appreciate you coming on and thank you very much. And folks out there, thanks very much for listening and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Building HVAC Science Podcast. The Building HVAC Science Podcast is a production of TruTech Tools Limited. The opinions voiced belong solely to the guests and hosts, depending on who is speaking. If you have a need or desire for tools or test instruments for HVAC or building performance, take a look at TruTechTools.com. That's TruTechTools.com. You can use the offer code HVACBS at checkout for a nice discount. In the world of podcasts, videos, and written education sources available today, some of our favorites are HVAC School, HVAC Shop Talk, Steam and Rarden, HVAC Reefer Guide, Tool Pros, Service Business Mastery, Quality HVAC, HVAC Overtime, HVACR Videos, Home Diagnosis TV, AC Service Tech, Measure Quick, HVACX, The Misfits of HVAC, National Comfort Institute, and the HVAC Grapevine. Hope you found these useful. Thank you again for listening to the Building HVAC Science Podcast.